This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on COWIN Global Conclave. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Neelab Srivastav, journalist.
We are talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, its challenges and technological solutions today, and a ready update for our listeners. As we all know, coronavirus pandemic had its outbreak in 2019 in the Wuhan city in the Hubei province of China, and slowly and gradually it started spreading across the world, different continents, different countries. And in 2020, we have seen that India and other countries were also affected by it. Very recently, as it spread across continents, countries, cities, and then even smaller places, now we have seen that in 2021, we have now gradually inched towards the vaccination strategy now. We cannot say that the pandemic has gone down exactly. There has been a second wave also in context of India and many other countries. But the challenge of the COVID-19 still remains very strong. And in this context, today there was this COWIN Global Conclave that we're talking about. While the scientific community, the India as such, the approach has been that no one is safe until everyone is safe. What is this COWIN Global Conclave, Mr. Tandon, that was addressed by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi today?
Yes, the Prime Minister Modi today shared his thoughts at the COWIN Global Conclave. Now, this COWIN Global Conclave is a digital platform which has been adopted by more than 50 countries. And in that context, the Prime Minister today spoke at the conference and he made a very major announcement that this COWIN platform is being used in India as an open source. That means it is available to any country interested in the technology. That means sharing of the vaccine technology. This platform is now available. And in that context, the Prime Minister said that, and if I may add, the countries which have joined this platform, they include Canada, Mexico, Nigeria, Panama, Uganda, are some of the countries who have accepted to adopt the technology behind this COWIN app. Now, speaking at this conclave, the Prime Minister Modi said that the Indian civilization considered the whole world as one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and that is the fundamental faith. And this has been fortified amid this pandemic. And that is why our technology platform for COVID vaccine, that is the platform which we now call as COWIN, is being prepared to be made open source. And in that context, the Prime Minister said that India has been committed to sharing all experiences, expertise, and resources with the global community in this battle. And our experience has shown that no nation, however powerful that may be, cannot solve this challenge in isolation. So it has to be faced and challenged as a global family. And the technology is integral to our fight against COVID-19. And Modi said that luckily the software is one area in which there are no resource constraints. That's why we made our COVID tracking app open source as soon as it was technologically feasible. He also mentioned about the success of the Arogya Setu app. And he said that with nearly 200 million users, the Arogya Setu app was a readily available package for developers. And having been used in India, the Prime Minister told the global audience that you can be sure that it has been tested in the real world for speed and its scale. So India's digital approach to vaccine, that was one of the main thrusts of the Prime Minister's address. And he said that given the importance of vaccine, India decided to adopt a completely digital approach. India is a developing country, but still it adopted a completely digital approach while planning its vaccination strategy. Now this helps people in proving that they have been vaccinated. There is a certificate we all know of. The moment we get vaccinated, we get a certificate. And through the Arogya Setu app, as we all know, our screen shows you are vaccinated. And this has helped in expediting the normalcy in the post-pandemic globalized world. Prime Minister said a safe, secure, and trustworthy proof helps people to establish when, where, and by whom they have been vaccinated. So basically, he was emphasizing that the digital approach also helps in tracking the usage of vaccination and minimizing the wastage. That was the thrust of the Prime Minister's speech. He said this particular conclave of COWIN was the first step towards introducing this platform for the global audience. And through COWIN, India has administered 350 million doses of COVID vaccine, including 9 million people in one day, just a few days ago. Vaccinated people do not need to carry around fragile pieces of paper to prove anything. It is all available in digital format. And he also highlighted the software. It is a very customer-friendly, user-friendly software as per the local requirements of the all other developing countries also. And then the main theme which the Prime Minister has been emphasizing elsewhere also, One Earth, One Health. He said he hoped that guided by this approach of One Earth, One Health, the humanity will certainly overcome this pandemic. That was the hope which Prime Minister himself in the global audience, and it was on a very, very positive note that he shared his thoughts with the international community, particularly from the developing countries.
Data, as we all know, stands at the core of any scientific study or maybe a better COVID management when we are talking about tackling the pandemic as a global approach, not only India, but every country that is affected by it. So the official data tells us that while across the globe there have been maybe 18 plus crore cases across the globe and about 40 lakh deaths. In India, the cases have been about 3 crore plus and say about more than 4 lakh lives have been lost, unfortunately. And now what we are seeing since the second wave of the pandemic, we are seeing that about less than 40,000 cases are now registered every day. While this is true that the positivity rate has gone down drastically, still the cases are coming. There have been 723 lives lost if we talk about the data as of today. But one point, Mr. Tandon, that Prime Minister said that the digital approach is helping in tracking the usage of vaccination and minimizing the wastage. You also spoke about it. Vaccination is very important when it comes to battling this pandemic. We know for sure that there has been different compartments of issues with the vaccine. There is supply issue. There is also the hesitancy issue. We know in the country that we have essentially 2 vaccines and 1 more Sputnik V is here and more are supposed to come. So how do you see that important point where the Prime Minister stresses that the usage of the vaccine and minimizing its usage through technology is very important?
You know, one important point today's meeting, first of all, it was a virtual meet. There was participation from health and technology experts representing countries from across the globe. And the aim of today's conclave was to share not only India's own experience with regard to the universal vaccination, but also to share the experiences. That means the Indian experiences and the Prime Minister today shared with the rest of the world. And therefore, the idea was to make our fight against COVID-19 a joint fight and win over COVID together as a global team. And as you were saying that the Prime Minister really unfolded the story behind the development of such a scalable, inclusive and open platform, which is now popularly being known as COWIN. And it is the tech backbone of India's vaccination drive. And this is how the Prime Minister emphasized the importance of technology, particularly during this pandemic, and how quickly the Indian technology experts and health experts were able to set up Arogya Setu app. And sometime if you look at it, India, which just a couple of decades ago used to be called living in a bullock cart age, is now considered as an IT guru. And this, our technology experts have proved during this pandemic that India is one of the very few countries which have made full use of the digital approach to vaccination. And that success story, this is exactly what the Prime Minister shared with the rest of the world. And it is, he said, is now this platform is an open source and it is available to any country if they are interested in this technology. And that approach, very positive approach, sharing with the 50 countries across the globe, I think is a very, very significant and showing that India is taking lead, not only in fighting COVID-19, but also updating technology as and when required, the upgradation of technology. And this has been an integral part of our fight against COVID. And this software, as I said earlier, is one area in which there are no resource constraints. That's why it's available to everybody. So I think it was a very significant platform which the Prime Minister used to reach out to the global community to share with them the experiences of India in fighting COVID-19 and also tackling the vaccination drive on such a massive scale. India, huge size country, it is now vaccinating people almost one Australia a day, more than maybe perhaps. And this is something which is surprising the whole world, how India has been handling this pandemic situation and also its very successful vaccination drive.
Taking a cue from what you said, Mr. Tandon, was that the kind of exercise that the country is doing, vaccinating the size of an Australia or maybe some smaller countries in a day itself. When it comes to technology, open source, because this COWIN Global Conclave today was all about open sourcing and sharing this particular platform with the countries across the globe. And in the words of the Prime Minister, if I can quote him, he said that this is available to any and all of the countries. And I think, is this an indication towards the global cooperative approach that India is doing vis-a-vis the pandemic management and combating the pandemic, and also in the perspective that we initially also had essentially a member of the COVAX also, where we did this exercise of Vaccine Maitri, where certain countries who probably would not able to get vaccines, India did supply them vaccines, and the kind of technology that it is now leveraging is sharing with the other countries so that more and more people get vaccinated and the globe as such is safe from the pandemic itself.
While sharing India's experiences, the Prime Minister said that when it was launched in India, and the idea was that to enable all the citizens to first register themselves for the COVID-19 vaccination and locate their nearest vaccination center. They can also download their vaccination certificate from the COWIN app. Now, all these things look very surprising because even now, India by the developed world is considered as a very developing country, but we have proved that the use of updated technology, India is second to none in the use of technology, and this platform particularly is for the good of the entire world. So Vasudev Kutumbakam, as the Prime Minister often says, is the approach to have a universal brotherhood and help each other. And in that context, India has shown the lead to the world that how technology can be helpful, not only in its fight against COVID-19, but also having a complete vaccination drive, a grand success, which India has been doing.
How technology can be helpful combating the COVID pandemic. Very true. So, Nandan, now, how do you see the entire COVID situation in the country now? In India, we now at a stage where we are essentially having 3 vaccines for administration to our citizens. There are more in the pipeline, emergency use authorization, as we call it, that has been given to other brands also. And it is now gathering pace, and with the slew of unlocks and probably increasing the activity that was curtailed due to the spread of the pandemic. Now we are getting into more and more of activities and opening up different sectors, and also to probably reboot the economy as such. So what is your assessment of the entire COVID-19 situation in the country now?
Thanks to the handling of the situation, even the very difficult phase of the second wave is now abating. And, most of the areas are now, the cases are declining very rapidly and things are returning to normal, and the economy also is opening up. But the bottom line remains that we still have to be very careful because there is always a threat and apprehension of a third wave. And I think all the agencies involved in fight against COVID-19 are well prepared. Everything is in place. But still, largely it depends on the behavior of the people. They will have to strictly adhere to the norms and the guidelines so that we not only could avoid a third wave, but even if it comes, we could face it and with all the precautions. But nevertheless, the fact remains that vaccine is going to be the real weapon against COVID-19, not only today in facing the second wave, but also if there is any third potential wave. I think the vaccination drive, the way very rapidly it is taking place, we will certainly be able to face any future threat.
Right. There can be multiple postulates of a third wave or multiple waves that come, but no doubting the fact that the scientific community and everyone has said that 3 very important postulates that we have been following since the outbreak of the pandemic, Mr. Tandon, has been keeping a safe distance, washing your hands, and wearing the mask, which is also called as the COVID appropriate behavior. And now the maximum stress on ensuring that you should get vaccination. Thank you very much, Mr. Tandon, for talking to us.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on COWIN Global Conclave. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Neelab Srivastav, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.